Mr. Lepine was born in Senneville in 1921 and raised in Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue on the island of Montreal. He grew up near the Veterans Hospital, where he befriended veterans from World War I. In his later teen years, he studied agriculture at McDonald's College in his hometown.
I decided that the things were happening in England and so on, and I felt after the 2 years on the course that I should join the service.
At 19, Mr. Lepine went to the recruitment center in Montreal and asked to be put on a plane. In 1941, he joined the 150 Squadron in England. He was radio communicator and assistant navigator.
The Americans landed in North Africa in late 42. They got stuck by the Germans. The Germans were well prepared, or were good soldiers. The Americans were new. So they asked for bomber crews, a few, quickly to go and assist them. So I went there and spent about 3 months, and we used to bomb the parts like Bizerte, places like the south of Italy. We didn't go every night, but we were prepared to go every night. We prepare our aircraft, we prepare ourselves, and everything.
One night, on his way back to base, his plane crashed in the Mediterranean Sea.
It's very strange when you land in the water. It's like hitting a wall about 65 miles an hour. It stops very quickly.
He managed to gather his crew and swim to shore. After this, he was released from his duties and sent back to England. He worked as a trainer for a few years before enlisting once again. Being a veteran, he had priority for choosing his squadron. He chose the 617 Dam Buster Squadron in 1943. They would regularly fly over France to bomb German cities.
We got hit over Munich doing pathfinding, but we didn't burst into flame right away, and part of the hot metal went into the fuel, and then she blew up. The wings burst in flame, but there was still enough wing left for us to maintain with it, to stay, but there was all the flame was coming out. So we had to leave there. We couldn't do nothing more. Any moment it was going to explode. So after checking that the people had already jumped and so on, well, I got hit on the head on one of these things. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it okay. I was losing blood, and going down at 21,000 feet, your chute moves pretty fast because there's not too much air. And you go between the aircraft, you hear the aircraft going around you, and you just hope that they're going to see you. See? It was 21,000 feet. It was cool at 21,000 feet. The blood kept me warm going down my back, but I was not too bad. That was not too serious. Everything is dark, very dark. And I thought when I hit the ground, I thought I was still at 10,000 feet or thereabouts. And I went right through a tree. And I was able to drop myself to the ground. They always told us that you come down, bury your parachute and start to escape. You see if you can. But I mean, I couldn't do too much about the white thing. So I said, I got to get out of here, which I did. And I started making my way.
Mr. Lepine landed in Bavaria, deep in German territory. At the time, Bavaria was mainly farmland, with a few small villages with churches. Mr. Lepine landed approximately 170 miles from the French border.
You had an escape kit with you, which was very small. It was about the size of a 25 cigarette case, which you could carry, here. In there you had some map. They were in silk of Germany, and they had Orlick tablets, they call them, and they told us, it says, fly one a day as soon as you land to, get away from settle down a bit, which I did.
He was alone. He was aiming for the French border and figured he could walk 10 miles a night.
I did that. At night, no food. folic tablet once a night. And you walk at night because you can't walk during the daytime. You hide during the daytime under trees and so on. And check your map if you can, but you cannot go and read what town I pass. I was trying to go in between all these little tunnels. If I went up to a house trying to steal or something, I would have been picked up right away. Now, how do you get your water? Well, walking at night, sometimes I fell into a ditch. And then I would take my jacket, put it on top of the water, and sip the mud through. Your teeth shatters all the time, you cannot control it. So what you do, you pick up twigs, and you break the twigs, and you bite the twigs. That's how you do it. You never sleep. You go on the you have to hide during the daytime, so you hide under bushes or whatever you can find. Don't move. You don't sleep when it's cold like this, you see. Never sleep, never ate, see. Now, no food, what do you do? First of all, you start using any fat that you have. That turns into energy, see. And that goes for a while, depending how much fat that you have. Well, we didn't have all that much fat, you see. And then when that's all gone, then you start using your muscle. And then that's when you start dying. I was starting using my muscle.
There were no boats that he could steal, and the current was too strong for him to swim across. As he searched for an unguarded bridge, Mr. Lepine was jumped on by 4 German soldiers with machine guns.
So I was caught. They didn't know what to make of me. So I never raised my hand to say I give up. You could, you should do this. I never did. They saw that I was in bad shape, and you could see that I had a problem walking. So they removed my shoes, and part of my skin came off. And they gave me some food, but my stomach could not take it, you know.
Mr. Lepine was put on a train and sent to a prisoner's camp. As he passed through Frankfurt, he noticed that the city was flattened. Nothing was standing. There had been bombing.
At that camp, it had four compounds, and it had a special compound for the people that they were worried about escaping and so on. I was one of them. We had some people ready to make papers. You always got amongst the officers and so on somebody trained to do something, but you couldn't do it with made out of pencil. So the German knew that, so they didn't want you to have ink. So there was a question, how do you get it?
The prisoners managed to bribe the German guards. They got some ink in exchange for their cigarettes.
You could ask for little things, and they didn't know that something like that would be produced. So we had our experts doing that. We had a lot of time to think about it. You know, your escape was in your mind all the time. Now, how do you build a tunnel and so on? You see, you got to get rid of the earth that you pull out. Okay. The earth would be pulled in little bags that you made, and then you would put it inside your pants here, and you go walking, and you would have a little string, and you undo and you spread it as you walk.
As the Russians came closer, he was moved near Berlin.
Near Berlin, there was heavy bombing. Mr. Lepine just hoped he wouldn't be hit by the Allied planes.
Eventually, the Russians came through. On one side there were the Russians, on the other side were the Germans. And they were shooting, we were in the between.
The Russians freed him, but could not feed him. However, He noticed that the fields had just been plowed and knew that he could dig up some potatoes he could eat.
One of my friends had hidden a little bag of tea, and he was to celebrate when the end of the war was through. And when the war finishes, I was such in a bad shape, you know. He said, let's celebrate, and I was not able to celebrate with him. And on to this day, that haunts me.